Today's AskReddit post. What's the lamest way that you injured yourself badly? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. I refused to take off a band-aid when I was around 6 years old. It got infected and they almost had to amputate my leg. I refused to take off a band-aid when I was around 6 years old. It got infected and they almost had to amputate my leg. When little Timmy got a cut, a scratch, to be precise, he said, "I think it's better, but I think the band-aid's nice. I like my tiny band-aid friend, my budding bro," he said, "the pal on which I might depend for all the years ahead. I like my fabric friend a lot." He spoke with hope and pride. Alas, his friend was hiding rot, and Timmy ducking died. Fresh sprog. My day is made. With Timmy, no less. I hadn't seen Timmy since, well, the last time he died. I broke my arm just riding my bike on flat ground. I saw a shiny rock and turned my head to look at it and fell over. I was riding full speed down a hill once and a bee hit my forehead, knocked me ass over teacups, wrecked the bike. Link Linison, I'm upvoting you just because you used the phrase ass over teacups. I don't think I've ever heard anyone but my husband use that phrase until now. Plot twist, it's your husband's secret Reddit, while they're on their own secret Reddit account. Threw my back out taking a shit. Might be time to consider adding a little fiber to the diet. I should have stated it was more from moving tweaking asserting when I reached for the toilet paper. But boy did it hurt lol. Yeah, my husband slipped a disc doing practically the same thing. Face with tears of joy. He was reaching for the button to flush and it was on top of the toilet causing him to tweak his back. Dropped a chair on my face. Still got the scar 20 years later. Why were you carrying a chair? I was laying on the floor holding a fold up chair over me. It slipped and landed on my face. Just above my eye. I should add, I was about 9 or 10 at the time. Probably old enough to know better though. I stepped off a curb coming out of a movie theater and rolled my ankle. I ended up fracturing a bone in my foot that required surgery. I was on crutches for about 6 months. I was walking down a set of stairs at the airport and missed the bottom step. Hurt like $% and. But I was on my way to Italy for 2 weeks so bought a pair of compression stockings and squeezed my very swollen foot into both of them for the flight. Hobbled stubbornly around in the beautiful cities of Italy, Florence, Venice, Verona, Pisa, for 2 weeks. No crutches, just a support bandage in my sandals, on what turned out was a fractured heel bone. Missed a curb and stepped funny and I ignored the pain thinking I just pulled a muscle. Finally went to the doctor 2 months later and apparently I fractured my spine and tore my hip labrum. You're a trooper. Took 4 years to figure out the torn labrum actually. Messed my hips alignment up and we thought it was fixed in physical therapy but we didn't know the joint was so badly messed up and torn that my hips kept slipping. Not me but one of my teachers in high school tripped on his sword and stabbed his leg. Had to go to the ER. Why did he have a sword? We did a Civil War reenactment every year where the school would be divided between North and South and battle each other. How many casualties were allowed per year? Enough to see who wins the battle. I broke my nose while opening the fridge. I was sleepy and stood too close. That's when I stopped the habit of night snacking. I broke 3 toes kicking a vacuum so. Why would you kick a vacuum? Because it sucked. Coming from a lactose intolerant person. Eating copious amounts of dairy to the point where I shit my organs out then pass out on the bathroom floor. Then subsequently wake up with a small piece of my forehead missing. Cheese is really good though. Oh, I have to. I broke my hand attempting to punch my brother. Threw a weak fist. He blocked with his arm. And I broke the bone on the side of my right hand. I broke my clavicle after riding my bike into my dog in our driveway and flipping over the handlebars. Oh no, that's terrible. Is the dog okay? Was trying to drive a nail vertically into a pencil. Ended up driving it into my hand instead. By climbing a tree and just standing there and somehow slip and break my legs. Edit. It had been raining and I was 7. I'm sorry, but the mental image of some guy standing in a tree, completely still, suddenly slipping on nothing and breaking his legs is just hilarious to me. Well, you're right. The amount of times I kicked myself in the balls while trying to remove my socks is way too high. This just happened like 5 days ago. I was taking a dump peacefully in my restroom and my daughter has a small wooden stool she uses to reach the counters and get on the toilet. I thought to myself, well, I am sitting here watching YouTube. May as well get comfortable. Double quote. I stretched my legs onto the stool, and all of a sudden I feel a very sharp pain. Imagine getting probed in your hip joint by a white hot iron poker that also electrocutes. In my hip joint, no major movement was done, other than just lifting my legs, straightening them out onto the stool. Had to finish taking a shit in severe, blinding pain. 10/10 would not recommend. Now, every time I walk or try and straighten up, my hip feels like a jellyfish is ducking my hip with its stinger. Been going okay for 5 days but can't afford to see a chiro. Imboned. Being a 30-year-old dude and this happening sucks ass. You should really get this checked out. The sooner the better. If you've pulled anything, the longer you let it go, the more damage it could do and end up costing you so much more. Threw my back out sneezing. Told my boss co-workers I was helping my mom move something heavy because it was so embarrassingly lame. Cries in 30+. When little Timmy felt an itch, a quiver in his nose, his nostril hair began to twitch, and in a squirm arose. He held his breath and raised his hand. He blinked a time or two. He closed his eyes and rose to stand, but nothing wandered through. Well, that's all right, he whispered pleased. He took his seat inside. He shook his head, and then he sneezed, and Timmy ducking died. You poem for your sprog replied to me on my pervert account. I don't know if I should feel proud or ashamed. You can be both. Not only a sprog, but Timmy fucking died because of you. Stepping from one level surface to another while gardening. Rolled my ankle so hard that horrible sensation of wrongness alone almost made me throw up. Had to crawl into the house. Whole foot and calf turned purple and I was on crutches, no driving for months. ETA. I have so many limping brethren who share my deep disappointment in the fundamental design flaws of ankles. Love to you all. Big feels to everyone who has, unhappily, joined this club. Holy Christ, go big or go home I guess. LOL. I did at least get to show off my freakishly high tolerance for pain. My husband couldn't even look at it, there was ultimately no break. But the swelling definitely made it look like it had an unnatural angle in it. I tried to pee off the side of a hot tub because I was jealous that my brother and his friends could do it. I'm female. I slipped and cracked open my chin on concrete. Were you 5 or 25 when this happened? Because one is funnier than the other. I'd be 25. 25 what? I'd bet 25 years. I got a paper cut on my foot by walking past an open book. I'm gonna have to ask for details on this one. So there was an open book on the floor, and I was walking past it barefoot. The side of my foot grazed the corner of the book enough for a page up and slice it. Ouch. Worst paper cut I ever got was on the webbing between my left pointer and middle fingers. Didn't realize it was there until I used hand sanitizer, also known as cut finder. As an electrician always getting little cuts or scrapes, this pandemic has been rough on the hands. I thought the glowing sand under the disposable barbecue would be cool to touch. It was not cool in the slightest. My stepfather dumped the ash from the grill in the trash. Ended up setting the plastic garbage can on fire. I laughed way harder than I should have. I've dislocated my shoulder multiple times high-fiving, and twice getting out of bed. Is it true that once you dislocate it, it's easier to dislocate again? Seems like everybody dislocated it more than once. Very much so. Everything keeps getting stretched out each time. And there can even be bone loss damage from friction grinding. Like in my case, I've thrown it out 15 times and had 3 surgeries. I fainted and shattered my foot by just getting out of bed. Seriously. Got up and went to the bathroom. Felt that wah 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 feeling. Grabbed a bottle of water, then crumpled, unconscious, in front of my fridge in my own apartment. I just moved in. Didn't even have furniture and had been sleeping on a bedroll till I could pick up my stuff. I broke 3 metatarsals clean through. 2 chip fractures. Resulted in 2 plates and 12 screws. Didn't walk for almost 6 months. Edit. Word. Yeah, you'll need some calcium in your diet. I was 35 and wrecked my car on the highway doing 80 miles per hour. Caught something in the road that locked my left wheel, dragging me full speed into a gap in the center concrete barrier. Ripped most of the front end of my car off. Airbags never went off. I had a single fracture on the capitati bone in my right hand from the futile attempt to steer away from the median during impact. Holy shit. Calcium iron, no calcium. I don't think you realize how lucky you are to have gotten out of that with just 1 fracture, never mind your life. When I was little, I lived with my mom in a ranch house, and the whole house had this long and narrow hallway that ran through it. I thought it would be funny to run straight at my mom and park her off the wall to pass her in the hallway at a high speed. In reality, my foot slipped off the wall. I tripped over her foot and went straight down into my left hand as I caught my fall awkwardly. Broke my wrist in 2 places and broke 3 fingers, lol. Parker is where you go from point A to point B as creative as possible, while point A is delusion and point B is the hospital. Edit. Thanks for the award, kind stranger. Not me, and not sure if this counts, but my cousin broke his finger on a bouncy castle. I was headed to the laundry room in my apartment building and decided to walk down the icy steps in flip-flops. I slipped, landed all 350 pounds of my then self on the edge of a step just above my left butt cheek. This resulted in a fractured pelvis and nerve damage, both of which still bother me from time to time 16 years later. I'm with you, except no ice. Fell down a set of concrete stairs at work and broke my pelvis. Wasn't doing anything except walking down the steps in a well-lit space. Supreme humiliation being taken out of the office by paramedics. 4 months of bed rest and also have regular pain years later. Burnt the tip of my dick with a dab nail. Very interesting. You screaming goat vagina. Tried to impress a girl I had a crush on in 4th grade. Told her I can jump over her. Jumped. Hit my head on a door frame. Had a concussion the next day. Was she impressed? He can't remember. Got knocked over by a 5-year-old, hitting my head on a table and breaking my wrist in the process. I wish I was joking. Edit. Wow. I'm reading some of your stories and feeling less alone. Thanks for sharing. My mum tripped over a kid at work and fractured 3 ribs. She was like 55 at the time, so it flattened her for weeks. I was 8 years old when I slipped in the bathroom and broke my front tooth on Christmas Day. It was already crooked to start with, but it snapped off about half of my tooth. So we had to find a dentist who was willing to check that I hadn't damaged the nerves of it. The good thing was it did it so that we met Dr. Anderson, real name, in California, who is an awesome guy. 10/10 would recommend because he is very chill with kids. Don't know if he has retired yet or not though. I cut off a pimple on my face with a dirty knife. I ended up getting infected and the entire right side of my face bloated up with pus. Gradually, I'm talking I could barely see through my right eye. It was years ago, but they cut something in my nose then drained the pus out my face. Holy shit. That's, insert that lady yelling at her daughters for not flushing the shit. Disgusting. Many years ago, married 24 years now, my husband and I were goofing around play fighting. He's a 2nd degree black belt. I'm a 2nd degree dumbass. I lunge forward while flinging my foot and kick him in the bum. Broke my ankle. He was unscathed. We still laugh about it today. Ha, 2nd degree dumbass. Nice. Sliced my hand open trying to trim my toenails with tiny scissors on vacation. I stepped down off a truck bed and rolled my ankle. Broke 3 bones, tore ligaments, tendons, and 1 muscle. Out of work for 6 weeks. Damn, are you sure you didn't fall off S3-story building? Fell down 1 flight of stairs like going down a slide. Fractured my tailbone. Thought it was just a really bad bruise and walked it off for 1 month before I thought of getting an x-ray. Even did foot drill before I found out. Also chased after the ex-president when he was jogging at a beach. Fell and scrapped my knees. Got his attention. Got up and said hi. Mr. Obama, get down. I punched my headboard. Direct hit. Beautiful technique. Alignment of the wrist was pristine and contact was made on the first 2 knuckles. Still broke. In the dark I ran into a clothesline. Fell backwards onto the ground. And had a concussion. Sounds like you got clotheslined. Shaving my legs without paying attention. I ended up shaving off the skin on the back of my ankle, I grabbed my ankle because I physically felt this. Flashbacks. Fell on a plastic bucket. It shattered and went through my cheek. On the bright side, I got a cool Joker scar from it. So that's why the Joker always makes up stories about how he got those scars. Hard to maintain a tough supervillain mystique when a plastic bucket nearly kills you. I was on holiday in France when I was about 10 and we were in a patisserie and the oven was right next to where you paid for your things. I said to my mum, "Do you reckon that's hot?" She said, "Touch it and find out." So I stuck my hand flat on the surface and it stuck to the oven. It was so hot. I then ripped it away and left a layer of skin on the side of the oven that started to crisp up and burn and it stunk. So yeah, the next 10 days of the trip was fun having to have a burn glove on. A. I should have known a ducking oven that is glowing would be hot. B. Found out my mum thinks I'm not as smart as she thought. This is pretty much the opposite of helicopter parenting. Red hot glowing patisserie oven parenting. Was dropping a ceiling in an apartment complex for HVAC ductwork. I had safety glasses on that had a mild tint. I couldn't see well with them on for 1 nail I had to drive. It was new construction so there was no lights in the building. Took the glasses off and the second swing of the hammer sent the nail straight into my right eye. What a stupid way to lose an eye. Nailed it. I bumped my head into another child while on a trampoline. She was fine but I had to get stitches. I was like 10 or 11 maybe. Taking pizza rolls out of the oven. I touched the heating element and gave myself a 2nd-degree burn on my thumb. Playing TIG, or tag if you're American, and ran into a metal pole. Split my head open. Blood everywhere and required multiple stitches. Now I have a scar on my forehead. Kinda looks like an exclamation mark cause it leads to a mole at the bottom. I sprained my jaw. Yes, that's apparently possible. By going down on a girl. Her to eat anything for a month. I hope she rewarded you for your exceptional efforts. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.